Well, hello, everyone. It's George. And listen, we just did a survey in the community where we talked about what you were using for project planning. And that got me thinking about maybe, and the consensus was, by the way, Excel. The growth drive, we have our entire methodology and process is available inside 90.io. Most of you are using Excel. So what I'm hoping to do today is to show you how you're going to create a very straightforward. We'll do the first few steps of creating a straightforward profit and value growth project inside Excel. Okay. So where do we start? Now you'll notice that I have two tools open. We have our infrastructure. It's not a tool, guys. It's infrastructure. This is the glue, right? This is the highway. This is the power grid. We have Clarity open. I also have a tool, which is Excel, or in this case, Google Sheets, which I personally happen to really like, but the two are relatively interchangeable. Okay. With all due respect. So where are we going to start? Here I am over on the Clarity side. And what I'm going to do is, let's imagine that we've completed Clarity Level 1. If you want all of the data you need for strategic planning, then for creating this project, we're going to go to Clarity Level 2. And I'm not going to go to the report with the same information is available. I'm going to simply go to Clarity Level 2, and I'm going to click on the Analysis Dashboard tab. Now, what do we need to know? The first thing is strategic intent. And our CEO, in this case, Diane Ridge of Ridge Specialty Tooling, has told us that her number one goal, her intent, she intends to prepare the business and to successfully sell it. Now, she is not selling, if you remember from the case, and this doesn't really matter. She wants to transition the business to her son. Again, if you're transitioning either to the next generation or to your management team or to a third party, strategic capacity needs to be maximized. Strategic capacity is the name of the game, because what does strategic capacity do? It quantifies this business's ability to predictably and sustainably grow profit and cash flow. And you want to set up your daughter, your management team, the next acquirer, the next owner. You want to set them up for success. All right. So neither here nor there. What are we going to do? Now, I'm going to keep this very straightforward. In the Growth Drive community, there is a template. In the Growth Drive community, and we'll do this as a separate video, there is the business flow scorecard. So let's start. I'm simply going to start here in my spreadsheet. So I'm going to move this off to the front so that we have a slightly bigger view. How many weeks? So let's imagine that we have a year, right? So I'm just going to put the months out here. Okay, I have 12 months. This is my first quarter, second, third, and fourth. All right. Now, if you'll remember, those of you who have taken the C3D certification of the 3 dimensions of growth, you know, if you've read our articles, if you've used our AI, Claire, you'll know that what we set up to do is to run 2 sprints per quarter. There are 8 growth driving objectives in each of the 3 dimensions. So let's imagine that this year we are going to work on dimension 1. Now, I have a very basic Excel spreadsheet set up here. If you imagine running 2 sprints per quarter, that would allow us what we recommend. That's 13 weeks in a quarter, 5 weeks per sprint, 3 weeks of catch up and what I call fudge time. What are those 3 weeks? Christmas, the 4th of July, Easter, Frank went on paternity leave, etc. Okay. we need to build in extra elasticity. So I'm just going to simply put these, I'm going to keep this simple. We could be counting out weeks here. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just simply going to run a sprint. Here's sprint number 1 and number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, here are the sprints we're going to run over the course of the year. You see how we're starting to build this up? Now, boy, it's going to look, I'm keeping it high level. This is conceptual. So let's now go and look at our level 2 analysis dashboard. Now I'm going to focus on dimension 1. I'm in the analysis dashboard here in level 2. I'm going to scroll down because what I really want to get to, I'm going to skip the growth killers and deal killers. What I really want to get down to are our scores. Now we're going to focus on, let's imagine this is year 1 of a 3-year engagement. In year 1, we're going to increase strategic capacity in dimension 1. That creates the launch pad for growth. In year 2, we're going to then add the 8 growth driving objectives that will unleash growth for this business, crank this engine up, get it to 20,000 RPMs. Yeah, that's high. Go and watch. Anyhow, that's a Formula One thing. And then in year 3, we're going to get into M&A prep. A little side note. When you have created high strategic capacity, I'm talking over 70, ideally 85 in dimension 1, in dimension 2, you will have done a lot of the heavy lifting that it takes to more easily approach dimension 3. We also see dimension 3 M&A prep coming. So when we have extra time, downtime, etc., we can start laying the groundwork, right? There's nothing wrong. Let's think of the military. Let's think of what we did. We'll go back to D-Day for those of us in my generation, and how much material and people, men, women, material was staged in the United Kingdom prior to sending the boats across the channel to invade Europe or to recapture Europe, starting in Normandy. We can start staging material, setting ourselves up for success. So we'll talk about that separately. But while we're focusing on the present, we also have an eye on the future. All right. So dimension 1, our average score is 58. Effective senior leadership. Great. That's where we're going to start. Let's start with clicking on the cell. I'm just going to shorthand these guys. And then sprint number 2 is going to be people, productive and loyal. All right. I'm using some shorthand. And 3 is going to be recurring revenues. 4, and I've put it in the 3rd month. I'm already making mistakes. I'm going to move this puppy out here. Okay, this is our fudge. This is our fudge month. Okay, so we're going to have 5 weeks here, 5 weeks here, which leaves me with approximately 3 weeks. For simplicity's sake, we're just allocating it to months, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so now we're going to do, okay, so high percentage of recurring revenue. And then in the 2nd quarter, we're going to look at margins. We have our skip, that's our fudge time. Next, after margins, we have financial reporting and sales process, skip, SOPs, and last but by no means least, customer sat. Okay, now, you see how we're starting to lay these out? Maybe I'll add a little color. It's easy to do. I do that so that I can stay completely sane. I like these lighter colors, and this is simply for my sanity. Okay. Now, what do we know? We're going to need some additional information. Let's just focus in here. I'll make this a little bigger. Let's focus in on our first two sprints because these illustrate. Now, we see our scores, right? Now, I might start here by saying, okay, wait, we're currently at a 60. And people productive and loyal, we're currently at a 40. Now, I'm hoping you can see how quickly you begin to orient yourself around what's going on. Now, what the heck are we going to do? What are we going to do to make sure we have an effective senior leadership team? Well, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is in now I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to go into execute guidance. Now, in execute guidance, what am I going to find out? Well, what I find out, I'm going to sort these, not the whole dimension. Let's just look in, let's stay sane. Let's look at effective senior leadership. You see how I've just hit the search button? Now I have just effective senior leadership, and I have the execute guidance for what we're going to need to do. Now, let's just do a simple count. I happen to know the answer, but there are 7 growth driving objectives in effective senior leadership. For one of whom we have 4. So let's just start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. And those should not be green. Not a problem. Now, what do we need to do? Well, I'm just going to, instead of typing a ton here, what you might be able to do is to say, all right, the first thing is we need shareholders have written time-bound goals. Now, shareholder goals. By the way, AI can do a lot of this for you. I'm doing it manually so that you get a good sense. What's the next one? Uh, SLT alignment. All right, great. What's the next one? Accountable. SLT accountable. Great. Now, let's just do 3 or 4 of these. They're accountable to the goal. Here they're accountable to the vision, mission, and strategy. Shorthand, vision, mission, strategy. So let's just do these 3. Now, I want to be able to see here. So, okay. What's next? What's next? I'm going to do a refresh here because I want to be able to see the top. There we go. Now, what is my guidance? Still in month 1. I'm just inserting a column to the left because what's my guidance? I click the guidance button, copy the content. Here's what we're going to do. All right. Terrific. The next one, the leadership team needs to understand to be aligned with the goals. Guidance. Organize a dedicated, great. Copy the content. There you go. We're going to do this. I'll do this the 3rd time. Now you can see in relatively short order, look how I hope when you start doing this, you're going to get a very strong sense of what needs to be done. Now, I'm going to open this up a little bit, give us some working room, and we're going to wrap. Whoops. Okay, maybe we're just going to come over here because I don't have enough running room. Okay, now, format. We're going to wrap it. Good. Okay, now, the next thing, do you remember from C3D? If more than one person is accountable, no one is accountable. I'm just putting exceeding guidance here. And who has primary accountability to hold a meeting or workshop with the business? Okay, who's going to have primary accountability? Well, it won't surprise you. Let's go back into our tool. I've just got to stop calling it a tool. Go back into the software. We're like, okay, well, who has primary accountability? Now, I'm going to click on leadership. And what you'll see right away is effective senior leadership, making sure that the business is not dependent on one person, on the CEO. Effective senior leadership it's actually the CEO's job to create an effective senior leadership team so the business can run independent of them, independent of any one person. That is a critical risk. It's the number one deal killer, and only you can delegate with accountability, Madam CEO. So, all right. Well, primary accountability is the CEO. Go back over here. She gets them all. But this is what's important. If you imagine, so obviously we need buy-in and accountability from the entire senior leadership team to start being accountable to start being accountable, right? To increase their accountabilities and to start, so the CEO is delegating with accountability. Terrific. All right. So the CEO is going to be accountable for these things. That does not mean the CEO needs to do all of the work. This is a collaborative session. So what are we going to do? Now, tiddlywinks. I'm going to insert one above. So now I'm starting to organize these and I'm saying, how can I best do this? Well, we can't do these all at the same time. We have 7 different projects. Okay, I have 3 of them here. We're not going to do them at the same time. So how do we start creating a waterfall? So I will introduce the concept of weeks. And now I will introduce the concept of weeks. So put these in the right order. So now, how many weeks? We have week. Bear with me. There we go. I'm just organizing it as we go along. We have week 1. All right. So this stuff, I'm just going to move radically out here. There. Now. So let's imagine we have 13 weeks in this, it's not an imagination. We have 13 weeks in the quarter. Now we're starting to build it out. All right. And again, we can get rid of these guys. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Let's delete them. Let's focus on. All right. Now, how do we take something very complicated and turn it into intuitive, easily intelligible, easily communicated, easily delegated work? Okay. We'll break it into weeks. Now, if we're going to do, we have 7. If we take 7 weeks, that is going to chew up a lot of time. So now you can start planning on what is going to happen and when. Okay. So in a single week, we should be able to do these 2 things. All right, great. I'm just going to put them in week 1. So these 2 are staying in week 1. Move some more into week 2. Right? Do you see how I'm starting to build up a waterfall that is going to start making this all flow together. The next one would go in week 3. So we have 3 of our 7. Now we know that we have about 5 weeks for this first sprint. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to there we go. There's sprint 1. There is sprint 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Week 2, again, I use color for my own sanity. Now, as we start going out here, 1, 2, somehow I've managed to. This is week 1. This is week 2. And so on. All right. Um, all right. Now I'm starting to say, okay, so here's what we're going to focus on in week 1. We're going to get these 2 chunks taken care of. In week 2, we're going to formally incorporate accountability into performance reviews and compensation. Who would this go to? Well, compensation. Who's in charge of compensation? And we're just going to go back over here and we're going to say, people, productive, and loyal. You'll notice that we have a collaborative accountability here on the 2 people. Where are my people? They're going to be down in operations. People, productive, and loyal, hiring and training. This is a COO. So we can start selling the COO in advance. In advance of this, our note might be to bring in the CEO. Okay? Because the CEO has accountability. We just saw it here in our ideal world, right? This is here again, leadership is an ideal world. And let me I'm going to step back. The leadership module allocates the 24 growth driving objectives across 4 primary functions: executive, finance, operations, and revenue. So now we're just going to get some help from the team. Hold a shareholder meeting. This one here, this is going to be the CEO, support from advisor. Okay, organize a dedicated session of the senior team, review and discuss their shareholder goals. And we're going to go again, support from the advisor, from you. All right, you're going to want to help facilitate these sessions, or maybe your CEO has this under control. I'd recommend being a fly on the wall. So, what else? What else should we do? There we go. We're going to wrap everything. Good. So now you see how I'm starting to. Now we can put dates in here. Now, if we're cross-referencing, what are we going to want to do? So you see now that we have, and again, what I like to do is I like to give these some color, because it keeps me, wow, that is an ugly color. Well, just go with it. I'm going to, just start giving these. So now we're starting to organize what this looks like. All right. And as you work in it, you'll start, okay, here's our plan. This is week 1. You can put, this can be Jan 1 to Jan 8. Jan, and on and on. So you can assign dates. But do you see how I'm starting to build? What are we going to work on? What are we going to do? Who's going to be primarily accountable? Who's going to help them? And this will allow us to increase the score. What's the best practice as we're increasing the score, right? Senior leadership is a 60. Great. As we start increasing the score, we're going to want to track it. So this becomes a large scale project plan, right? And I'm doing it quite simplistically. We can get a lot more complicated. Okay. I can bring Gemini on board. I would recommend that you bring Claire into the conversation. Now, how are we going to track how we're doing? For those of you who have never kept score of how a business is doing, you are going to find this fun, exciting, rewarding, and most importantly, it works. It is so simple and it works. I've gone into the community and I'm using the search function to bring up our business flow scorecard. Okay. Business flow flash template. Here it is. Now I'm going to click on the link and it's opening it up. Now, here's our strategic capacity. Now we're going to keep track of our strategic capacity on an ongoing basis. So this week we got our strategic capacity. I'm spitballing here to 62. Last week it was 60. The week before that it was 58, 55. Okay. What I did year to date is not applicable for this one. So we're starting to see now, if you do this business flow scorecard is designed to be used in the Monday morning meeting. So every week we can sit down as a senior leadership team. Imagine the CEO at the head of the table. You're a fly on the wall. You're sitting at the right hand. And we are saying, okay, where are we? What's our Moneyball KPI? Maybe they're tracking, maybe they're tracking monthly recurring revenue, gross revenue, net income. Now down here, we're starting to look at our sprints. What are we working on? Well, we are working on senior leadership. I can go in here to the scorecard and I can start typing in. You can change these, right? These are just to indicate what you would put in here. So if let's just say our sprint progress is on creating effective senior leadership, and we'll decide if it's green, amber, or red, right? Green or green, amber or red. And every week we're going to track the impact that's having on strategic capacity. How does that happen? Well, every week we need to look at what we've done. We're going to go back into clarity level 2, and I'm in dimension 1, right? We're working on effective senior leadership. And what did we do this week? We've gotten to a point where the shareholders have defined the objectives. Maybe true, and we can document. Now, before I click this, all right, down here you have a score of 60. Move this to true, and we can document 69. What other impact does that have? Remember, our score was 60. I'm going to go to the analysis dashboard, scroll down, and now we're at 69. Well, that is killer. I've added 9 points to effective senior leadership. Why? Because that is very heavily weighted. So now you're able to track, you're keeping score in relatively real time of the impact that doing this work is having on the business. And if we start looking at transferable value, guys, you're going to watch this value gap decrease and you're going to watch the transferable value increase. Go down one more so we have them all on one line. There you go. It sizes itself. That's why it wasn't on one line. It sizes itself to fit the window. So now, now in real time, you're demonstrating the ROI from working with you. And you're able to say, well, yes, you have paid me $60,000. And for that $60,000, you have increased the transferable value of your business by $800,000. Putting proper context. This isn't money that was spent. This is money that was invested. You are an investment of time and treasure. You are leading a process through which this business is becoming easier to run, professionalized, more fun to run, more fun to work for, with delegated accountability, et cetera, et cetera. So you do this every week, and week after week after week, you were seeing every week there's a report. Now, you can, for the first several weeks, be in the room or in by Zoom. At a minimum, every week, you should be getting a copy of this report. Now, that is as simple as the share function, right? So the share function allows us to just have immediate, up-to-the-minute access. As long as it's been updated, you can see what's happened. And you will know that on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, this has been worked on, and you are shepherding this process, and it's increasing their strategic capacity, which is increasing the transferable value of the business. And the data's in, boys and girls, the data is in. When you increase strategic capacity, revenues will pop. And maybe I'll take a moment and illustrate why that might be. Why might that be? Well, I'm going to go back to clarity level 2. Now imagine, I think the easiest way to show this is actually in level 1. If we look at our level 1 report, and down here, now imagine a business that goes from, you have an effective senior leadership team, partly true. Move that to yes. Yes, our employees are productive and loyal. Yes, we have a high percentage of recurring revenues. 80%. We set the bar very high. 80% recurring revenues. Great. We are generating, we've moved our margins so they're above the industry norm. We're getting good data out of the business engine. We've taken our winning salespeople, and we've turned that into a process that is practiced by all. So now sales has picked up pace. Operations is delivering on the promises made to the market by sales in a way that generates high customer satisfaction. Now, do you think that business is going to see its revenues pop? Yeah, but you bet it will. And it's not, the data's in. That is exactly the impact. So as we do this work, as we track it over, as we plan it, and then execute against the track and keep track of our impact, you're going to see that start playing out in the gross revenue, the net income. You're going to start seeing margins float up. And if they are not, the CEO's job, you want to delegate with accountability. The CEO should be able to ideally sit at the head of the table and simply ask one question. And what's that question? Why? I see that strategic capacity has gone down. Why? I see that gross revenues have been flat for 3 of the last 4 weeks. Why? Why? And not in a confrontational way. Why? Let us work as a team to figure out why this could be true and fix it. Increasing strategic capacity is the name of the game. This is an integrated process that includes the CEO, the senior leadership team, you, the advisor, and the rest of the advisory team at timed as appropriate. It also includes infrastructure, clarity, and the Claire AI. Now, in the next video, I'm going to dig into Claire and show you how Claire can help put this together as well. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you very much. And as always, I'm here. Your success is important to me, and I'm always glad to help. Thanks.